Thank you, Beck. That was amazing. Our musician, Beck. Hey, welcome everybody. It's good to see everybody again. I am so excited to be coming at you here tonight. We're trying some new stuff out, so stick with us. But we've missed you. I'm currently here in my house. My wife, Marta, is running the camera. Thanks, Marta, for doing that. My son, Beck, was doing the song. Thanks, Beck. That was awesome. And we're just excited to be a part. It's been awesome being here with my family, but I'm excited to be with my student ministry family as well tonight. So welcome, guys. Hey, if you didn't yet, hit mute on your microphone so we can it's going to make the experience a lot better for you. Hit mute on your microphone for us, leaders, except for you. Keep yours on. Tonight, we are going to be talking about a topic that I think has been in our minds and what we've been thinking about for the last couple of weeks at least here, and that's the coronavirus, the COVID-19 thing, and the fear that comes from that. We've kind of seen a lot of different things that have been happening from this, where school has been canceled for a while. Hope is now just doing everything online for right now. You can't eat in a restaurant. You can only do drive-through or pickup. People have been going to grocery stores and anywhere else they can find toilet paper and buying like years upon years of supply of toilet paper and hand sanitizer. We've had all these different reactions to this thing, and so we're going to try to talk tonight a little bit about what that looks like. Most of those things are good, are reactions that have been good because it's to keep the spread from happening. But some of them are also based off of fear. I'm looking at you, toilet paper people. Come on now. That was all off of fear when we, by going out and buying bunches of toilet paper or hand sanitizer. I was doing some reading last week about fear because I wanted to just kind of see what it was about and what was going on. And so I found somebody that said fear was this. They said that fear is something that is superior than you controlling your life. Fear is defined as something that is superior to you controlling your life. What I think is interesting about that is this idea of that fear is something where you have to let go, or it's like you don't have the control of it. So, for instance, on this virus that's going around, we have no control about it. We are just solely living our lives, not sure what's going to happen, and that's where this fear is coming from. That's probably why people are buying tons of toilet paper, because that's one thing that you can control, right? How much toilet paper you have in your house. We are afraid of having something that we cannot control, different things that are impacting our lives. The Bible talks a lot about fear. And but what's crazy is, except for fear for like this reverence for God, a fear of God, everything else that the Bible talks about is to not be afraid. In the book of Joshua, we get that. In Joshua 1:9, it says, "This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." And it talks about it all over in the Bible. There's all this talk about not being afraid. Jesus even talks about it in John 14:27. It says, "I am leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart. And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled or afraid." Read the last line with me one more time. Don't be troubled or afraid. See, Jesus is telling us that there's no reason to be afraid. Now, the thing is that fear is so internalized on us as human beings that, of course, even though the Bible and Jesus is telling us not to be afraid, we still are. We still live in this fear, and that's not something that is new. This coronavirus maybe is new to us, but epidemics is not new to Christianity as well. One story that I read last week was about this guy, Martin Luther. Yes, I am not an artist, as we can tell. But Martin Luther, that name maybe is something that you would have heard before. Lutheran Church of Hope. Martin Luther was a revolutionary theologian from back in the days in the 1500s who kind of like saw things at the Catholic Church that he didn't like that they were doing and kind of broke off from them. And ended up having all his followers who then called themselves Lutherans. So Martin Luther, though, in 1527, he was working at this college in this town in Germany called Wittenberg, and a plague came and hit Wittenberg, and everybody that was healthy was leaving, was getting out of the city because they did not want to be hit by this plague. But Martin Luther and his family stayed. They stayed because they felt like God had bigger plans for them and for this town than that. They stayed because they wanted to care for those that were injured, that were hurt, that were hurting and sick. They even turned their house into a hospital themselves. Because this is what Luther thought. Luther said that he feels that God works for good even in places that we didn't expect him to work. God works for good even in places that we didn't expect him to work. So they stayed and they cared. Even though they were scared themselves, they could have gotten sick and things could have happened to them, but they decided that God's work was more important. Later, after this was all done, Luther was reflecting with a friend, and they were writing back and forth about this. And he said that his faith was caused him to stay. Because he believed in God, that's why he wanted to stay. And he even said this. He said that our faith, and that we may see and experience how we should act toward God. Our love, and that we may recognize how we should act toward our neighbor. You see, his faith is what caused him to stay. His faith is what made him decide that he would put others before himself. And we see that happening all over the place in hospitals right now where people are taking care of him, and medics and all these different service work people that are helping put other people forward before themselves. We heard Pastor Mike talk about that this last weekend. Because the thing is that what we need to be doing is we need to feed our faith, not our fear. Now, I'm not saying that we need to go out and do all these things, because those are professionals and they're doing what they know what they can do. But what I'm saying is that we need to be able to feed our faith. That instead of being afraid, we need to jump into prayer. We need to be praying. We need to be reading God's word. We need to be able to work together and to support each other during these times. That if we starve our fear by feeding our faith, then that fear will go away. Our faith will be able to overcome all of that fear. And that's what Jesus was talking about. He's saying that, yes, you are the church. You are able to feed your faith. I was talking last week about the church and about all this with Ashley. And what she said was that in Greek, the word church is ekklesia. I'm probably saying that totally wrong. I'm sorry, Ashley. But what she said was that. And she said that it meant to call out. To call out, which means to tell the gospel, to spread the good news. It didn't mean a building. It didn't mean a place. It meant a group of people together. Right now, you're all in your different homes on a computer screen, but you are the church right now. We are called to be the church to this world, to call out the good news of Jesus, to support each other, to pray for each other. When I was a kid, one of my favorite people in the world was Mr. Rogers. Oh man, I looked up to him. I even would get my hair cut like Mr. Rogers, is what I used to say. And so one of my favorite people in the world is Mr. Rogers. And it's been cool to see Mr. Rogers kind of coming back into the limelight again with a movie with Tom Hanks and a documentary from last year. But one of his quotes is also kind of just flowing around right now talking about the coronavirus. And it's this. This is Mr. Rogers, by the way, my rendition. When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, "Look for the helpers. You'll always find people who are helping." That's what we're called to be. We are called to be helpers. We are called to not live in fear, but instead to try to help as best we can all those that are around us. And I don't know what that looks like, and you guys can talk about that and see what that looks like in your lives. But here's the thing, is that one, we are able to support each other right here and right now in our setting where we're at. And two, I think it's constantly looking for those situations. Ways where we are able to live not in fear, but in faith. Just as Jesus showed us, and Martin Luther showed us, and Mr. Rogers showed us. Ways that we are able to support and love those that are around us. We also want to have a strong online presence here during this time. And so if you will, if any of these are your platforms that you kind of use, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we'd love for you to kind of connect with us. Here's all the different handles that we have. We also have TikTok is coming soon, as well as we're working on Snapchat as well. So once we have those, we'll let you know too. But if you are interested or you're available, there's a lot of cool stuff that we're going to be pushing out through these. And Zoe is awesome, and worship is so important to us that it's just kind of a weird setting to be able to do it on these kinds of things. So Zoe, though, every week is going to be having a worship playlist that she's going to be putting out there for us as well, which is amazing. We'll put those on all of our posts. And then if you would like to, if you want to, if you have prayer or anything like that, text Power Life or Ignition to 94033. And then that kind of starts a little dialogue with us back and forth where you'll be able to also submit in if you have any prayers or questions. We'll also send you some text message stuff out through that as well, just to kind of continually connect with you during these times. We are now going to go into our groups. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I am so excited that we can still do Power Life and Ignition. We're going to continue this format going on here until we're able to meet together as one again. But until then, hang in there and remember that we are the church.